Welcome into Speak for Yourself. I'm Emmanuel Acho without Marcellus Wiley today, but let's keep it moving because Tim Tebow's returning to the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we should all have a huge issue with it. Not with Tim Tebow, but with the fact that somebody who is not at all qualified got one of the most coveted positions. Let me put this in context. The last time Tim Tebow was on an NFL roster was with me, the Philadelphia Eagles, 2015. I've been in the media for 5 years. We've seen 3 presidents since Tim Tebow last played an NFL game. Now, why is this a huge issue? Yo, we've been arguing about qualifications dictating hiring in the NFL for a long time. So much so that we instilled a rule, the Rooney Rule, to make sure that head coaches, that assistant coaches get hired based upon qualifications, not who they know. So how dare we ignore it when it has to do with players? Let me give y'all a little bit of math. Roughly 130 college football programs, 2 graduating tight ends annually. That makes 260 tight ends entering the draft on an annual basis. Over the last 8 years, that's a little over 2,000 tight ends that are more qualified to get that Jacksonville Jaguar spot than Tim Tebow. Now, why do I care? Why am I so hostile? Because it personally affected me. Remember, when I was in the NFL, the majority of my career spent under Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, college head coach, moved to the NFL. There was literally a point in time where on our 61-man roster, 53 active plus 8 practice squad, we had 9 Oregon Ducks. Remember, Chip Kelly's alma mater. 9 Oregon Ducks. That's roughly 15% of our roster was based upon familiarity to our head coach. If we're going to take a stand on hiring the most qualified person when it comes to coaching, when it comes to assistant coaching, then we have to take a similar stand on hiring the most qualified person when it comes to playing the position as well. Well, that's my 2 cents, but I got to bring in NFL analyst Bucky Brooks to find out, Bucky, do you have an issue with Tim Tebow getting the Jacksonville Jaguars job?
Actually, I don't have an issue with him getting the job because this happens all the time. Every coach has what we call a pet cat, a player that they love, that they take with them wherever they go. Acho, I can tell you, I've been a pet cat. I was a guy who was a wide receiver, converted to cornerback in Green Bay. John Snyder moved from Green Bay to Kansas City. I go there. John Snyder then eventually goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I retire and become a scout for him. And so what typically happens in the league when you get comfortable with players, you trust them, and there's a connectivity. So when I go back to Urban Meyer, man, Tim Tebow might be the most decorated player that Urban Meyer ever coached on the collegiate level. So there's a level of gratitude that he feels towards Tim Tebow. So if Tim Tebow is down in his luck, he's looking for an opportunity. I am now the head of a new organization. I'm the czar, and I can make these things happen. Naturally, I'm going to give one of my favorite players an opportunity. Now, it's on Tim Tebow what he does, but we see this all the time. Just look in Dallas. Dan Quinn brought Keanu Neal and DeMonte Kazee with him to Dallas. Last year, Brian Flores gets the gig in Miami. He brings Cal Van Noy with him to the Dolphins from the Patriots. We see it time and time again. This is commonplace. I am not surprised that Tim Tebow has a spot with the Jacksonville Jaguars because he's always been one of Urban Meyer's favorites.
I appreciate that, Bucky Brooks. I appreciate that. I'm here now joined by my big brother, Sam Acho. The question, Sam, is not so much am I surprised by it, because I'm not surprised by it. Like Bucky, he's not. He's a wise man. The question is, do you have an issue with it? So do you have an issue with the Jacksonville Jaguars signing Tim Tebow?
Emmanuel, I don't. I don't have an issue with Jacksonville signing Tim Tebow. And the reason why is that this is Urban Meyer's first year in the NFL. And Bucky alluded to it a little bit, but when you're a new coach, you want some familiarity. And I believe that Urban Meyer has a plan. He had a plan everywhere he's been. At Utah, he had a plan. He had a plan at Ohio State, Florida. Everywhere he's been, he has a plan. And what we've seen, like you saw in your time in Philly, he has a plan. Let's go to some of the coaches, right? Let me just present that for a second. Chris Ash, the DB's coach right now in Jacksonville. He coached with Urban at Ohio State. Brian Schneider, he's a Jags special teams coordinator. He coached with Urban back at Colorado State. Even going to Charlie Strong, who you and I both know well from our time at Texas. Charlie Strong was the DC with Urban in Florida. And so what I see Urban doing is bringing people around him to try and succeed at a level that he hasn't been at before. He's not trying to fail with people he doesn't know. At least let me bring the Tim Tebows of the world, my coaches. Let me get some players who I know. Carlos Hyde, he brought him in the offseason. He coached Carlos Hyde at Ohio State and drafted Luke Farrell. So he's bringing as many people as possible to be comfortable in his new position. I have no issue.
The issue I have, and I need my 3 box because I want to look at Bucky and I want to look at my brother at the same dang time. The issue I have, fellas, is not familiarity. That's not my problem. I understand familiarity. The issue I have is a lack of qualification. Bucky, you talked about Brian Flores bringing in fellas he's familiar with. Kyle Van Noy played for the Patriots, outside linebacker. Brian Flores brought him into Miami. So many others. Sam, you mentioned a litany of players, a litany of coaches that Urban Meyer is familiar with. Well, Chris Ash has coached before. Charlie Strong has coached before. My guy, Bucky Brooks, you mentioned Keanu Neal. He's played safety at a high level, even in the NFL before. So I have no issue with that. But fellas, let's talk about the issues. I have an issue when you're hiring somebody that is not qualified. I'll speak from experience. 2013, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm on the roster. I'm there with Chip Kelly, Michael Vick, LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, all them dudes. But also on the roster is a great person, but a wide receiver by the name of Will Murphy. Now, Will Murphy was a walk-on wide receiver at the University of Oregon. Look him up if you shall, but I'll tell you about it. Will Murphy had a career, 24 catches, 240 yards. Career, 24 catches, 240 yards. We kept Will Murphy on practice squad over B.J. Cunningham, a 6th-round pick who had, in his senior year at Michigan State, 79 catches, 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns. I was flabbergasted. Bucky, in the locker room, we're like, yo, we really the Philadelphia Ducks. We the Oregon Eagles. Here's the problem. I don't mind you hiring somebody you're familiar with, but you can't hire somebody you're familiar with who is not qualified. Tim Tebow is a phenomenal college football player, maybe one of the greatest college football players ever. But he's not a tight end. He's never played tight end. He hasn't played in the NFL in 8 years. Last time he was on a roster was 5 years ago. Fellas, y'all have to make this make sense. There is no reason to put Tim Tebow on an NFL roster. You want him in the locker room, Bucky Brooks? Make him an assistant strength coach. You want him in the locker room, Sam Macho? Make him a player development coach. But you don't need to give him a helmet and shoulder pads, y'all.
Emmanuel, so first of all, let me just hop in real quick because I know you're passionate. We were talking together in Philly. When you were in Philly, I was in Arizona. You're passionate. I'm passionate. I get it. Tim Tebow, you played with him. Y'all are friends. Y'all are homies. I understand that. But if you want to talk about even the coaching aspect, you said, okay, make him as a coach. He's never coached before. So there's no room for that. Strength coach. He's never been a strength coach before. So I feel your point. But at the end of the day, there's some NFL players that are probably upset that Tim Tebow was getting a roster spot. You were one of them, Emmanuel. You're probably very upset that Tim Tebow is getting a roster spot. But here's the thing. Many of those players who are upset about this roster spot may not have a job regardless. They may not have a job anyways. There's 90-plus guys on the roster right now. The roster gets cut down to about 52, actually 53 in a couple months. Those guys, if Tim Tebow's taking your job, you probably didn't deserve a job in the first place.
No. These are personal attacks that you are making, Sam Macho, on your own flesh and blood. How dare you? Now, here's the thing, Bucky, before I get to you, sir. Tim Tebow may never have been a strength coach before, but at least he lifted weights. Tim Tebow, he ain't never been a head coach before, but at least he's given a motivational speech. I will never let us lose another football game again as long as I am the quarterback. At least he done that. Last time Tim Tebow was throwing a ball, they hit him in the face mask. Y'all look it up. So again, Sam, it's not a matter of, favoritism, having him in the locker room. I'm not surprised, Bucky. I'm not surprised. But he did not deserve the job. And if you, Bucky, are going to go on record, which you have done, and said we need to make sure that the most qualified coaches get jobs, how dare you come on the same record, on the same show, and turn a blind eye to Tebow?
Because what he's getting is not really a job. He's getting an opportunity. It's a difference. If Tim Tebow makes the roster at the end of the year when they kick it off, then he's earned the job, but he has to earn it. But we've seen all kinds of guys come through the locker room. We've seen track stars who have never played a down get an opportunity to come through a camp. We've seen basketball players who've never played football get an opportunity to play in the National Football League through training camp. So I can understand being all upset about Tim Tebow getting an opportunity, but sometimes, man, and we know this, sometimes it's who you know, not what you know. And Tim Tebow is parlaying his relationship into an opportunity. But ultimately, it's on Tim Tebow to earn the job. They're not going to give him a roster spot. He is going to have to show people that he can do the things either as a tight end or is a special teamer. The odds are long in terms of him being able to do that. So we'll see. No need to get upset. He has to go out and compete just like these guys do at these rookie minicamps and tryouts. We'll see if Tim Tebow can get it done.
Bucky, I'm glad you said a roster spot, not the roster spot. Let's break this down for fans. We've all been in locker rooms. We've all been on teams. The objective when you're in an NFL training camp isn't to make the team. The objective is to make a team. You're auditioning for all 32 teams. You're not auditioning just for your team. If you've ever played in the league, you understand exactly what I'm saying. But here's the problem with that ideology as it pertains to Tim Tebow. You cannot make a team unless you are on the team, because being on the team allows all teams to see you. So yes, that 90th roster spot, that 5th tight end on the depth chart, he's likely not going to make the team. And Tim Tebow is likely not going to make the team. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. But who did he rob the opportunity from making a team? I'm passionate because I was that dude. I was that 5th string linebacker, Bucky Brooks. I was that 4th linebacker on the depth chart, Sam Macho. I was the 6th round pick. Sach, you were the 4th round pick. Bucky, I don't recall where you were drafted, but you had a longer career than I. You was the 2nd round pick. I was the guy who Tim Tebow is robbing a roster spot. I was the guy who Tim Tebow is robbing the opportunity at the chance to make a team. Now, is it far-fetched? Absolutely. I was cut 5 times before the age of 25. Now, I still played my 4 years, vested pension annuity. That's why I'm sitting right here right now, so I ain't tripping. But I was still robbed my opportunities. Let me clarify again. I am not at all upset at Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow's a great locker room guy. Tim Tebow's a great guy. Tim Tebow's a friend of mine. If I saw him right now, I'd dap him up. We played together. But I have an issue with, and we all should have an issue with, any aspect in society where the most qualified person or people or persons are not getting jobs because of some dude that you know.
Yeah, I have no issue with your emotions, Emmanuel, and you're a very logical person who's acting and speaking on emotion right now. But let's just take some statistics, right? So you got 90 guys on the roster, cut down to 50 some odd. So that's about 40 people who are going to be cut when you make cuts. 40 times 32, that's about 1,300 players that will not have a job, more or less. Take it or leave it. 1,300. You were one of the guys who got cut and then got signed back. Cut and signed back. Remember Casey Matthews, prime example. He was an Oregon connection. You feel like you might have been better than Casey, but Casey had favoritism. So I get it. I'm with you with the emotional piece. But statistically, if Tim Tebow is better, I believe he's going to show it. And yes, he might take one of those 1,300 spots, but I'm an outside linebacker. So if I see Tim Tebow on that football field and I do what I do, I'm going to run him over. I'm going to embarrass him. If I'm a DB, Eddie Jackson, I played with him back in Chicago. If Eddie Jackson sees Tim Tebow, and if Tim Tebow makes a catch on Eddie Jackson, he should be embarrassed. And so what's going to happen is Tim Tebow's not going to do well, and then he's going to get cut.
I don't know that.
So 1 out of 1,300. Let's just say statistics.
If you want to talk statistics, let's talk this statistic. Because you brought up a name that elicited a visceral reaction in my heart and in my spirit. Bucky, don't laugh. I can hear your laughter in my ear. Don't laugh, because this is true, America. Casey Matthews, Oregon Duck, made one of the greatest plays we've seen in a national championship game against Auburn. Cam Newton that year, they beat Oregon. Casey Matthews dives, punches a ball out, forces a fumble. It was one of the most athletic plays I'd have never seen in my life. It happened in college. Here's why I have an issue with it. 2014, starting linebacker gets hurt. Casey Matthews and I are backup linebackers. I start the season on practice squad. Casey Matthews starts the season on the active roster. All of a sudden, Michael Kendricks gets hurt. He's our starting linebacker week 2. So I am thrust not only to the active roster, but I start week 3 against the Washington football team, formerly the Redskins. Why did I, who was on the practice squad so that Casey Matthews would stay on the active roster, y'all are going to promote me not just to the active roster, but ahead of the guy who you kept over me? Now, maybe Casey was better than me. Maybe he was. The only problem, if we're looking at statistics, Pro Football Focus ranked him the 54th best linebacker that year, and me the 33rd. So I literally lost money, an opportunity, and a dream was deferred because of coaching familiarity. I'm not speaking for me. My life is Gucci right now. I'm on set in a custom suit, so I ain't mad. But the fact of the matter is, imagine how many other cats like me, Bucky Brooks, are out there losing opportunities because of what their coach knew and what their coach knows about a former guy who just isn't necessarily as talented statistically.
Look, I get it. Langston Hughes, you're all up in your feelings right now. You're mad about your dream being deferred. I get it. But life isn't a crystal staircase. So you made it, and you're on top of it. Here's what I will say, though. This is commonplace. Having worked in front offices, some guys get the benefit of the doubt. Some guys get the head start, and it's on other guys to find a way to work around that. Tim Tebow certainly is being afforded an opportunity that some would not get. Now, it is ultimately on him because, as Sam alluded to, if Tim Tebow goes out as a tight end who was a quarterback, if he hooks you as a defensive end or as an outside linebacker, you deserve to get laughed at and poo-pooed. If Tim Tebow runs routes on a safety or a nickelback and he catches the ball, you deserve to get all the jokes. And so that's what it is. Ultimately, he has to earn it on the field, and I don't know if many of us believe this will happen.
Timeout. I'm throwing out technical fouls to you, Bucky Brooks, technical fouls to you, Sam Macho. Here's why. In all honesty, I have no issue with y'all's logic. Like, straight up and down, I have no issue at all with y'all's logic. But here's the problem, y'all. We can't write articles for the Players Tribune, Sam Macho, talking about the difference between upper-level management and lower-level management and how come not all head coaches who deserve a fair shake are getting fair shakes because of nepotism, hiring your family, and cronyism, hiring your friends. We can't write articles for the Players Tribune arguing that we aren't giving head coaches who are more qualified a fair enough shake. We can't do that. Bucky Brooks, we can't come on TV and say that too many coaches of color aren't giving fair shakes so that their white counterparts who know other head coaches are getting fair shakes. We can't come on TV and criticize Cliff Kingsbury, who was a losing coach in college and became a head coach in the National Football League because of who he knew and how he looked. We can't criticize those dudes, then come out here and just be like, oh, I mean, it's just the way the game goes. It's just the way the game goes. I won't stand for it because it's the exact same thing. If we're going to tolerate Tim Tebow getting a head coaching, Tim Tebow getting a job on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster because of who he knew. And if that's going to be okay, then Sam, I need you to revoke that Players Tribune article. Bucky, I need you to revoke all your old takes. And y'all at least need to sing the same hymn year round. Somebody take the floor.
Emmanuel, what job has Tim Tebow earned? He hasn't earned any job right now. He's earned an opportunity. Yes, he tried out. People might see that as an opportunity.
One of 90 is not a job?
Yeah, he could be on the team for a week. He'll be on the team for a week.
That's fine.
They had some coaches who got hired for about a week and then got fired in Jacksonville. So you could be on the team for a week and then in OTAs or in rookie minicamp or whatever, because veterans can't go to rookie minicamp as well, you could be exposed or embarrassed. So what job has he earned? I personally believe Cliff Kingsbury, I love the example you brought up. I love the example. I don't think he deserves a job in the NFL, but he has one. Bucky's point, he said, man, he was kind of the coach's guy. He maybe didn't deserve that, but he got it. And so my issue is not necessarily with him deserving it, but he got it. And that's the world we're living in right now. Do I think it's okay? Do I think it should be the way it's done?
That's the question.
Do I think it should be the way it's done, overarching? No, because I wrote about it.
Thank you.
But at the end of the day, this is a tryout. It's not a job. He hasn't been signed to a...
It's not a tryout.
It is a tryout. What guarantees does he have? What team is he on? What roster has he made? The last I checked, is made.
I had to go to tryout, so I know the difference between being in a tryout as well.
I did. I know later in my career.
I know the difference between being in a tryout where you are not under contract and being under contract. Being under contract means you have a job. Going as a tryout with no contract is a tryout. Now, he may be auditioning while he has the job, but Tim Tebow is under contract. Tim Tebow got a job now.
Emmanuel, NFL contracts are not guaranteed. So if I'm thinking what this contract may have been, I don't know what the statistics are, but the checks don't cash until August and September. The checks don't cash till you make that 53-man roster. So right now, if you're there and you're showing up, you might be getting $1,000 a week, maybe $900. If you're a veteran, maybe $1,500. Those checks aren't cashing until August, September, and October. That's when the money comes in. And so, yes, he has a quote-unquote contract, but that is fake, false. This is a glorified audition, a glorified tryout. Yes, I've been to tryouts as well. Later on in my career, after a couple injuries, I had to go try out for the Saints. I tried out for the Bills. Those were tryouts. And one of the teams I didn't make it, one of them I did. I had an opportunity. But once again, the best players show what they can do. And last quick point, if I may. just going on the familiarity piece because I have an issue with it. But my real issue is if you're not familiar with people who don't look like you, think like you, act like you. After I got released from the Buffalo Bills, my last year in the NFL, I torn my pec the year before, was kind of limping through the last season in 2018. 2019, I get released by the Bills. And all of a sudden, halfway through the season, no one's calling, no more tryouts, nobody. And then Tampa Bay had some injuries. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had 2 starting outside linebackers who got hurt. And you know who called my phone? Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles. You want to know why? Because they coached me back in 2013 and coached me back in 2014, back when I played in Arizona. You want to know why that made sense? Number one, I knew the system. I had to play. It was a Monday. I got a call. I had to play on Sunday. I knew the system, number one. And number two, there was that familiarity. They knew what I brought to the locker room. And so, yes, I have an issue with when you talk about coaches and general managers and the cronyism and nepotism. I wrote about it. I have a very huge issue with it. But if that's the world we're living in, and Tim Tebow hasn't had an official job yet, just a tryout, a glorified workout, I believe he's going to get exposed. And then if he makes the team for being a good tight end, then more power to you. But he's getting an opportunity, a tryout, a shot, and that's all this is.
Yeah, Emmanuel, you're getting mad about the paid internship that Tim Tebow is getting because all he's getting right now is per diem, some T-shirts, some shorts, maybe a sweatshirt every now and then. That's it. So there's no need to be upset about that because ultimately the one thing that is really the determining factor in football, you have to play. And he is going to have to play at some point. He's going to have to put his hand in the dirt and show people that he can block, that he can catch, that he can be a contributing member of the team. And so there's no need to get worked up. But back to your point, because I do have an issue with nepotism and cronyism. It is something that is pervasive in the National Football League. It's something that we see in the coaching ranks and time. And it's one of those things that we certainly have to address at all times. But this is a situation where, look, man, when we see it with players, it happens all the time. We can address it. But the one thing that we don't know, on every roster, there are about 4 or 5 guys that are there because of the relationships, either with their position coaches or the coordinators. We can't legislate that part out of it. It is one of those things that exists. It's going to continue to exist. And Tim Tebow certainly is benefiting from it. We can bring attention to it. But ultimately, Tim Tebow has to earn that job, even though he's being given a head start on the opportunity.
The best way to close this conversation, and y'all got me riled up, is with a quote by a great orator, a great author, a great public speaker. Simply said, it's a bias that might be unconscious, but it's palpable, and I've witnessed it firsthand. Sam Macho, in regards to the difference between head coaches not getting correct opportunities. Coming up, Russell Westbrook made history last night, but I'll tell you why he ain't getting enough respect. But first, is it crazy to say Dak Prescott gonna be an MVP candidate this season? Bucky let that slide yesterday, and we got beef. We talking that next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. We all know he's trying to come back from season-ending ankle injury and surgery, but he said last week that he could, quote, play in a game right now. Our own Bucky Brooks made an even bolder claim for Dak on yesterday's show. Y'all take a listen to this.
I'm going with the MVP, Dak Prescott, being on the big stage against the New York Giants. That's the way they want to do it. Dak Prescott, he's debut, MVP season. We got to see that on TV.
Bucky, that sounded just as crazy today as it did yesterday. Now, here is why Dak Prescott can't win the MVP for the Cowboys. Here's why Dak Prescott won't win the MVP for the Cowboys. And it's real simple. Dak Prescott's statistics and the Cowboys winning have an inverse relationship. For those that don't know what an inverse relationship means, the greater one does, the worse the other does. Remember, Dak Prescott's rookie year, 23 passing touchdowns. Cowboys were 13-3. Dak Prescott's fourth year, prior to him getting injured this year, 30 passing touchdowns. But the Cowboys were 8-8. You see, the problem is the more Dak Prescott balls, the worse the Cowboys collectively as a team do. Now, common knowledge, easy common sense simply says the more Dak Prescott has to do, typically the worse the Cowboys are doing. The only problem, last year's reigning MVP, Aaron Rodgers, the Packers go as he goes. You see, Aaron Rodgers threw 48 touchdowns in a season. Oh, last season, Packers were 13-3. Aaron Rodgers threw 45 passing touchdowns in a season, and the Packers were 14-1. But when Aaron Rodgers threw 25 passing touchdowns, the Packers were just 6-9-1. There's a direct correlation between how great Aaron Rodgers is and how great the Packers are. Conversely, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, the better he does, the worse they do. I bring all of this to close by simply saying the worst winning percentage of a quarterback to win an MVP, 68%, meaning 11-5 back when the NFL schedule was 16 games. With that being said, the Cowboys would have to go 12-5 at worst for Dak Prescott to even have a shot to win the MVP, at least based on history. Now, I told y'all I think is crazy. Bucky, you obviously don't. So you tell me, Bucky Brooks, you still believe Dak Prescott going to win an MVP this season?
Oh, absolutely. I am 100% confident. In fact, I would take your check down to Vegas and I would put it on the sportsbook and say that Dak Prescott is going to do it. I'm going to take those odds. And this is why. Because I love it so much. Last year, Dak Prescott, 371 passing yards per game. We talk about leading the league in that. Not only that, statistically, it's been a 6,000-yard season for Dak Prescott to finish that out. And he did it with a defense that was leaking oil badly. He did it with a first-year head coach in terms of his first year in Dallas and Mike McCarthy. And he did it with Zeke Elliott being out of shape, overweight, not playing well. He did it without his offensive line. So now let's just think about everything that comes back. You've been on social media. I know, Acho, you've seen Zeke Elliott working out, looking like he's fit and trim, ready to come back and be the guy that we're accustomed to seeing. We also know that Tyron Smith and La'el Collins will come back. We have also seen what happens typically in Mike McCarthy's second year, because in Green Bay, they started out 8-8 his first year, 13-3 the next year. And we have to follow the money, because now that they've dropped $40 million per year in Dak Prescott's bank account, they want him to go from being the game manager that you constantly allude to being the playmaker, which is proven that he can be. Absolutely. With the Dallas Cowboys being in primetime, America's team, as they win this division, going to the playoffs, and he puts up big numbers, man, put his name on the trophy. Dak Prescott is certainly in the conversation to win it, and he will win it when the season is over.
Bucky.
Yeah.
Bucky. You are tripping. So I hear all your statistics, and I'm with that. Dak Prescott is a phenomenal Dallas Cowboy. He's the number one in completion percentage, number one in wins, number one in passing yards, number one in passing touchdowns, number one in passer rating through his first 5 seasons as a Dallas Cowboy. And yes, Dak Prescott will likely go into the Ring of Honor as a Dallas Cowboy. But we're talking MVP, most valuable player, not as a Dallas Cowboy. We're talking in the NFL. And so just hear me out. So all your points are great. I love it. You sound really, really good. And talk about taking checks to Vegas, right? I hope you don't bet because you're probably going to lose. But here's the deal. So let's look at the last 4 MVPs. The last 4 most valuable players. Aaron Rodgers, we all alluded to him, right? He's still around. He's still playing really, really well. Let's go to Lamar Jackson, unanimous MVP. He's still around. His team hasn't gotten worse. Oh, let's go to Patrick Mahomes, who's still there, still playing at a $450 million level at 100%. And oh, by the way, in case we all forgot about the man who's won 6 rings, now on a new team, Tom Brady. These last 4 MVPs, they're still there and they're still getting better. They haven't gotten worse. They haven't retired. No one's been traded. So yes, Dak Prescott is a phenomenal player, and he's a great Dallas Cowboy, but he's not going to be the MVP of the NFL. Not happening.
I'm with him, Bucky Brooks. And the fact is, yes, Dak Prescott may ball. I assume Dak Prescott will ball. Has the most talented group of offensive skill positions in the NFL, in my humble defensive-minded opinion. But, Bucky, I'm just interested in what you have to retort to this. When Dak Prescott throws for over 325 yards, Cowboys are 6-6. When Dak Prescott throws for under 250 yards, Cowboys are 24-15. They're 500 when he throws for over 325 yards. They win 62% of the time when he throws for under 250 yards. Now, we understand the common sense is when the Cowboys are winning, you run the ball, Dak Prescott throws the ball less, therefore he doesn't have as many passing yards. But, Bucky, that's going to be the issue with Dak winning MVP. The only reason they will be lighting it up like that is if they're losing. And if you're losing, you can't win MVP. Think about it like this, Bucky Brooks, before I let you take the baton and you call for stick. Think about it like this. Russell Westbrook, who we will talk about later because he don't get enough respect, he's averaging 22, 11, and 11. And he's not even in an MVP conversation. Not because Russell Westbrook ain't balling, because the Wizards ain't balling. If Giannis had those numbers, 22, 11, and 11, unanimous MVP, all votes, his. But the fact of the matter is, you can't win an MVP if your team is not MVP good. And the Cowboys just haven't shown us that they are going to be 13-4, 14-3, 12-5. They just ain't shown us that in recent history, Bucky Brooks.
Okay, good thing we're not using recent history to vote for the MVP this year because it's a single and solitary yearly award. And so because the first thing you have to do to qualify to get into the tournament is you got to win your division. So when I look at Dak Prescott and his ownership of the New York Giants and others within that division, I'm pretty confident that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. When we think about that, he's clearly the best quarterback in the division. The team, I think we can argue, is clearly the best team in the division. So that puts him in the conversation. And then it's funny because you brought up Aaron Rodgers and the correlation when you talk about the inverse relationship. The better he plays, the better the Packer plays and all that. But it's funny, you didn't mention that the Green Bay Packers were 13-3 the previous year when Aaron Rodgers only had 26 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And so their success isn't solely dependent upon number 12. It is a part of the equation. So if we think about the MVP and not the offensive player of the year, because the offensive player of the year is strictly on the individual statistics. The MVP is most valuable, meaning the best player on the team that wins the most. That is the one that typically garners the award. So when I think about the Cowboys and the success, I think it's really simple because we've heard coaches talk about this all the time. You throw to score, you run to win. And so what I expect from the Cowboys is I expect Dak Prescott to throw early and often for them to get the lead. Ezekiel Elliott runs it out to salt away the lead, and that's how they win. But the credit always goes back to the quarterback because when we look at the MVP award, it's been a long time since we've seen a running back be the MVP. I'm confident because of the team success that Dak Prescott is going to be the one that hoists the MVP award.
Bucky, you must have grown up in Dallas, or man, we grew up in Dallas. We seen the Cowboys fans with the glasses with the stars on them, like looking through those star-colored lenses. Bucky, you sound a lot like Jerry Jones.
He does.
You sound a lot like Jerry Jones.
Just less wealthy.
Just a lot less wealthy. They got $5.8 billion in that account. You sound a lot like Jerry Jones. I was with Jerry Jones not too long ago, negotiating CBAs and whatnot, and having conversations. And you listen to this man talk. He wears those star-colored glasses. He's sitting there, we got Dak, we got Zeke, we got CD, we got our O-line, we got Amari. We're going all the way. Bucky, you don't believe that.
He doesn't.
I know you don't believe that.
No way. Bucky, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end this conversation very simply. I just told you the MVPs at quarterbacks to win with the worst record historically. 2016, Matt Ryan, they went 11-5. Prior to that, 2002, Rich Gannon, they went 11-5. Where'd Matt Ryan end up his MVP year? Oh, in the Super Bowl. Hey, where did Rich Gannon end up in 2002, his MVP? Oh, in the Super Bowl. So, essentially, if Dak Prescott does win the MVP with a 12-5 record, history over the last 2 decades says he got to take him to a Super Bowl. I don't even see that happening with star-colored and tinted lenses, so I don't have a clue how you do.
Well, then print the shirts. Then if you're saying that he got to win the MVP and go to the Super Bowl, then print the shirt in Dallas in the team store. Get them ready. Hoist up the little T-shirts because the Cowboys must be going because Dak is winning the MVP. Keep this in the book so we can talk about it.
Remind me never to go to the casinos with you because I'll lose money. But if y'all want to win money, Terry Bradshaw's money, well, Terry Bradshaw and Fox Super 6 are giving away $5,000 for the 2021 NFL schedule released tomorrow. One of the questions is, who will the Cowboys play on Fox Thursday Night Football? The Saints, Chiefs, Bucks, Eagles, or Vikings? So, Sam, who you got?
I'm going to go Bucks. I'm going to go Super Bowl champion. You got to see the best against who Bucky thinks is the best. I'm going Bucks.
Bucky, talk to me.
Oh, they got to be the Chiefs because we want to see the 2 best quarterbacks in football play against each other.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs, but for completely different reasons. Just because the Chiefs and the Cowboys, you got to see that prime time. Well, download the Fox Super 6 app and play for free for your shot to win, and make sure you tune in to the schedule release show on FS1 and NFL Network tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern for a full breakdown of top matchups, primetime games, and more. Coming up, Russell Westbrook set a huge record last night. I'll tip my hat to him, but I'm going to tell you why he's not getting enough respect. That's next. Speak for yourself. You don't want to miss it. Russell Westbrook broke Big O Oscar Robinson's record last night for the most triple-doubles in NBA history. Shout out to you, Westbrook. Now, he'll finish the season averaging a triple-double for the 4th time in his career. After the game, Russ gave his thoughts on breaking the record. Y'all take a listen.
I never really thought about it, honestly. I just kind of go out and play. And every night I try to do things that people say they can't be done or you can't do it. And my motto is why not? And that's how I live. And that's how I think. And each and every time I step on the floor, I try to do things that people said I can or can't do, over the years and proving people wrong and going out every night and competing and doing that at a high level.
Joined by my guy, Chris Broussard, CB, and Slick the Rick Bucher, 2 of the most astute NBA analysts in the game. Fellas, I can't wait to talk to y'all. But first, I got to get this off my chest, because I'm convinced, CB, I'm convinced, Slick, that there are 3 reasons why we don't give Russell Westbrook enough respect. 3 primary reasons. The first, the collection of Basketball Nation during that divorce. Y'all know the divorce between Durant and Westbrook. Well, we all kind of chose custody with Kevin Durant, if you will. We all kind of said, no, we want to stay at his house. Westbrook can get visitations on the weekends, but KD is really who we rock with. That's the first reason. I feel like when we had to make a decision between KD and Westbrook, we collectively chose KD, and we just don't think Russell Westbrook is that likable. Overall, he's become more likable, but we don't think he's that likable. That's my first reason. My second reason, the Wizards and Westbrook, they just don't win enough games. You could talk exclusively about the Wizards, but really, I want to talk about Westbrook. Think about other superstars, y'all. Giannis, Kawhi, KD, Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron James, even Kyrie Irving, all have significantly higher winning percentages. Significantly higher winning percentages than Russell Westbrook. So when all the magic that Russell Westbrook is making happen, it's not necessarily translating and correlating to wins. Fella, my third reason is really this. We've grown accustomed to it. The first year Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double over the course of the season, he won an MVP. He did it the following year. We didn't really bat an eye. He did it again the next year. We still didn't bat an eye. And now he's done it this year at a ridiculous level. He averages more rebounds a game than Giannis, than the Joker, than Embiid. He scores more points a game than Anthony Davis, and he drops more assists a game than, well, everybody in the NBA. But we still don't really give credit where it's due. I think it's for those 3 reasons, but CB, I'm going to go to you first. What's your take? Why isn't Russell Westbrook getting the respect he deserves?
Well, I'm going to say, I'm going to start off by saying I do think he gets his respect. You mentioned it. This is a guy that's won an MVP. He won the MVP as a 6th seed. Now, yeah, he averaged a triple-double. But to win it as a 6th seed, that's the lowest seeding that somebody's won the MVP award in at least the last 35 years. So there's that. That's number 1. Number 2, he's a 9-time All-NBA player. Not All-Star, where it's the fans, All-NBA. That's the writers, the media, giving him his respect. He is widely viewed as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. So I would say he gets that level of respect. The respect he doesn't get is the respect that's reserved for the champions. That's where we've gotten to. And when you play at such a high level as he has with all these triple-double seasons, then you get to a point where people kind of start looking down on you a little bit if you don't win the championship. And Giannis, let Giannis keep this up for 3 more years and watch his level of respect decline. It might not even take 3 more years. But when you get to such a high level individually, but don't deliver a championship, that's when a little bit of the respect declines. Now, you look at a guy like Damian Lillard and some of these other guys who haven't won championships and seem to get more respect than Russ, well, they're not doing what he's doing statistically. They're not changing the record books and chasing Oscar Robertson or passing him and things like that. So that's why I think it feels like Russ isn't getting a lot of respect. But when you look at, MVP, first ballot, all that stuff, he's getting mad respect.
But Broussard,
only people that get more are champions.
Let's call the spade a spade. I love your quote. He's not getting the respect that's reserved for champions. I ain't never heard that before. I think that is brilliant. But I think there's a problem with that. We giving Russell Westbrook third team respect, but CB, let Luka average 22, 11, and 11. CB, let LeBron average 22, 11, and 11. But more importantly, CB, Chris Paul, he ain't got no championships. Finals appearances, where they at, though? And Chris Paul gets the respect of maybe one of, if not the greatest point guard ever, the point god. Huh? But his championship has not yet arrived, and Chris Paul gets respect beyond respect. And Russell Westbrook, yeah, he gets some third-team All-NBA consideration. But as I look at it, if any of the other superstars had his numbers, 22, 11, and 11, we would be shouting their praise from the mountaintop, and we're not really doing it for Russell Westbrook.
Well, LeBron would certainly get it. He's a champion. You mentioned Luka Doncic. Luka would get it because he's young and he's in that honeymoon stage where it's like, oh, wow, this kid's only in his third, fourth year. Look at what he's doing. There was a stage like that for LeBron. And then when he got beat by Boston and then Orlando, people start thinking, can this guy win? It even happened to Michael Jordan. Rick remembers this. Jordan early in the 80s, yeah, he won one MVP. But a lot of people were complaining, oh, you got the shoes. You got the come fly with me video. But you can't win like Magic and Larry. So until you win a championship, when you get to that level, you won't get the respect. You mentioned Chris Paul. He gets it, but, I mean, if he got major respect, he gets respect, but he's not going to win MVP this year, even though he's taken Phoenix from out of the playoffs last year to the second seed. So I think Russell's getting, like I said, that appropriate level of respect.
Let me help you guys out because you're searching around. I feel like I'm having a show with two guys that are in the dark and they keep touching things and go, I think I know what that is, but I'm not 100% sure. The reason that Russell Westbrook doesn't get the respect that he deserves is because he does not give respect. Ooh. That is the distinction between him and Chris Paul and Luka Doncic and any of the other guys that are putting up similar numbers that are not champions. What do we think of? What's the first thing we think of when we think of Russ Westbrook's image? It's the sneer. Give me a look at what we see on a regular basis. That is the Russell Westbrook that everybody sees, and that's whether you're an opponent or you're the media or whatever. Now, I believe that Russell actually respects the game, and I think he respects his opponents. He simply does not show it. And for a guy that spends so much time as a fashionista and on his outfits, he has an image problem because the Russell Westbrook that I know is not the Russell Westbrook that everybody ultimately sees. So, look, you can have quantity, but you have to have quality, and you have to demonstrate the other element that he said that I think is a big part of the issue is he said, I will never change. Well, how's that working for you? Are you winning championships? You're putting together all these stats, but are you winning? Michael Jordan, to your point, Broussard, yeah, he was criticized. And what did he do? He changed. He adjusted. Kobe Bryant, what did he do? He changed. He adjusted. There's a fine line between being stubborn and persevering or being determined or being relentless. And I'm not sure that Russell Westbrook understands the difference. If what you're doing is phenomenal, and yet it's not getting you the desired result, which is winning, then maybe you have to look at changing. And Russell Westbrook has never demonstrated that he's willing or able to do that.
Can I just I just got to give a moment of silence for a great take. I know it ain't silent because I'm clapping. CB, I'm going to come to you on that real quick, CB. But before I do, Slick, the ethos of what you're saying, you got to give respect to get respect. I co-sign that. That was really with my kind of first bullet point. I masked my first bullet point behind we chose Kevin Durant over Russell Westbrook. I think that was actually the embryonic stages of us disliking Westbrook. We had to pick somebody. We did. I don't even like KD. Y'all know I don't like KD as a person. I think he's a phenomenal basketball player. But we all had to pick somebody and blame somebody for that breakup. I think we did in the basketball world. And I think for the most part, we've looked at Russell Westbrook since being going from team to team as talented as he is. I think we've looked, CB, I see your face, but I don't think there's any denying Russell Westbrook is not the same likable guy that Steph Curry is. He's not the likable guy that Luka is. He's not the likable guy that outside of LeBron being polarizing that LeBron James is. I just don't think Russell Westbrook is very likable, and his lack of being likable has in turn turned into a lack of respect. CB.
Okay, a few things I want to address. One, I'm not so certain, Acho, that the basketball world chose Kevin Durant. I mean, do we remember when he went to Golden State, how he got crushed? I mean, everybody and their mother was criticizing him. Walt Frazier just said a year or two ago, there's an asterisk by those championships with KD. And then Russell Westbrook shows loyalty by signing on with Oklahoma City to stay. You know, he was to stay the rest of his career if he could have. So I'm not so sure that it was so cut and dry. What happened, and this is my point, Kevin Durant won. Now, no matter how stacked the deck was, he won, and he did deliver in the finals. He was a two-time Finals MVP. He balled out. He was the best player on the team. So that is what did it. And Rick, look, there's no doubt Rick made a great point, and you echoed it, Acho, where you said he's not likable. Very true. But I throw this at you. Is Kevin Durant likable? Burner accounts,
CB, let me
going at the media, keep it to basketball. I don't want to talk to y'all. Keep it to basketball. I mean, I don't think, is KD that likable? He's gone at half of the national media and got into scrapes with him.
Yes, he's likable. Here's the thing, CB, I don't like KD because I don't vibe like that. But I think all people who have ever wanted to clap back at somebody on Twitter are like, yes, KD, you did that for me. I think all people who wanted to go at an ESPN analyst's head and then go drop 35 points on like 15 shots are like, hell yeah, KD, you did that for me. I don't like that style and that flair because that's not me. But Broussard, I do think it's a whole lot of people who don't clap back like KD does, and they see themselves in a little bit of KD, and for that reason, he is likable. I feel you asking the question, because I don't like it, but I think it's a whole bunch of dudes that do. Slick.
Yeah. So here's the other element when it comes to Russell Westbrook and his numbers, because it's really the triple-doubles and the numbers and how phenomenal and historic they are that makes us raise this question, right? I mean, he surpassed Oscar Robertson. There's no question that Oscar Robertson is respected to the utmost in the annals of the NBA. So do we think that Westbrook is better than Oscar Robertson? Is he going to garner more respect? No, nobody expects that. And here's why. Because Westbrook has quantity, but he does not have quality. The numbers aren't reflected in the records of the teams that he's playing for. He's not making other players better. Let me show you his playoff numbers. This really struck me. His playoff numbers, his first time he was in the postseason to the last time we saw him last year. Look across the board, the difference. This is the first time in the postseason. You're supposed to, after all these years, be moving up, not down. And in many cases, they're reflected in his regular season numbers. Some of the numbers are going up, but his efficiency is not. His shooting across the board is lower at the most important time of the year. So I can't look, the object of the game is not to have an impressive stat line. The object of the game is to win. And if your stat line is not delivering wins, then your stat line, to me, as someone who covers the NBA, just doesn't mean as much as the guy who he shoots 40%, but he gets his team to consistently win. I'm going to pay attention to that as opposed to the guy who's getting a triple-double every night but losing by 5.
I respect it. We hear the take of Russell Westbrook chasing stats. But I look at it like this, Slick. If you chasing rebounds, I ain't mad at you. If you chasing assists, I ain't really mad at you. Now, if you're chasing points, that could be to the detriment of the team. But as it compares to the rest of the NBA, Russell Westbrook isn't leading statistical categories in points. He's leading statistical categories in assists. So I'm not mad at Russell Westbrook for chasing stats, because his chasing stats is leading to team success, just not nearly enough team success. Coming up, Deshaun Watson is on the Texans roster right now, but I'll tell you what they should do with their star quarterback. That's next. Speak for yourself. Let's head to Houston now, where reports say Deshaun Watson is not expected to play for the Texans again. Now, Watson is currently facing 22 civil lawsuits, but he's still on the roster. Houston drafted quarterback David Mills in the 3rd round and signed Tyrod Taylor this offseason. The general manager was asked about his quarterback situation, but did not directly address Watson. Joined by Slick Rick and my brother, Sam Macho. So, Slick, I want to come to you first for your take on this one. What should the Texans do about Deshaun Watson?
They should see if this current situation offers an avenue to reconciliation with Deshaun Watson. Now, hear me out. The place that Deshaun Watson finds himself now is in a very different place than when he first asked out of Houston and away from the Texans. And there is no one, no team, no situation that could do more for him in terms of repairing his image and getting him back to playing football than the Texans organization. And let's face it, for where the Texans are, they're not going to find a quarterback as good as Deshaun Watson. They certainly don't have it in Tyrod Taylor or Davis Mills. So I don't know whether Deshaun would be open to that, but I would want to explore that. I believe that adversity creates opportunity. And so let's see if we can come back together. We want to stand by you. We want to help you through this because this is where you've had the most success. And it doesn't matter where Deshaun goes. His current situation is going to follow him. He's not going to be able to solve it from afar. Doing a geographic isn't going to make it go away by any means. And so I believe this is a potential opportunity. And short of that, if it's still a hard no, if Deshaun says, no, I'm done with you guys, then I move on as quickly as I possibly can. It is one or the other. I'm not looking to get the most out of Deshaun Watson. I'm looking to turn the page. And if he wants to be someone else's problem, have someone else solve the problem that he's in, then fine. But if there's the possibility that we can work together to help each other, then I want to see if that exists.
Yeah, Slick, I'm going to take you back to my childhood for a second. I'm here with my big brother so he can attest to this. The Texans need to maintain their role as Deshaun Watson's employer. That is it and nothing else. They don't need to be like one of his little friends. See, Slick, growing up in the Acho household, our parents were our parents. Our parents were not our friends. Our parents were not like one of our little homies that we could tell our little secrets to, and They would look out for necessarily our best. No. Our parents, Slick, they was our parents, okay? And we was getting them whoopings. No CPS. We was getting them whoopings. The Texans don't need to act like the judge nor the jury. The Texans don't need to act like Deshaun Watson's lawyer nor his agent. The Texans need to act as the Texans. They need to continue to operate as in the best interest of the Texans. That's really how they need to play it. Privately, figure out what they are going to do, because if Deshaun Watson wants to move on, figure that out. We don't know how this civil litigations, we don't know how that's going to turn out. That could turn out to the detriment of Deshaun Watson. That could turn out to the detriment of the Houston Texans organization. So privately, they need to start to make plans, but publicly, as their employer, they need to continue to maintain their level of commitment to Deshaun. The problem they gonna get in is the same problem some of these parents get in when they start acting like one of your little friends, when at the fact that in the end of the day is they still your parents. Now, Sam, we could tell childhood stories until the end of the show, but we have a show to do. So as a players union rep, What is the union's responsibility with handling this Deshaun Watson situation?
Well, in this scenario, and I love the parent story because it was taking me all the way back. But in this scenario, the union's job is to protect the player and really to protect the player's wallet. And so here's what I mean by that. So NFL teams at this point, they're saying, okay, specifically the Texans, how much of that $156 million that we paid him can we get back just in case he's not on our team? Let's not forget, a few months ago, Deshaun Watson was one of the many players in Houston saying, I want out. I don't think that's changed. And even Rick, I hear your point about maybe there being some kind of way to help the reputation. Houston is not trying to help Deshaun's reputation whatsoever. And so the union's job is to say, okay, Houston, the way things are going right now, they could potentially get $20 million of his guaranteed money back if he doesn't show up to OTAs or minicamp, or if he doesn't show up to seasons and games and preseason games. So our job is to protect it. Going back a little bit to even with litigation with Ray Rice. Yes, the things that he did were horrible, but the NFL team said, how much of that money can we get back? And so the union stepped in. That's when I learned. I was new trying to figure it out. The union stepped in and said, we got to protect the guy's money because the team is trying to do something that may be illegal. So you don't right a wrong with a wrong. You try and keep the players' pocketbooks safe.
Well, so much still needs to unfold with this situation. Hopefully, the only goal for me that the truth comes out. But the Texans, y'all got a lot of decisions to make. Coming up, I think Steph Curry's the most entertaining athlete in sports, but the guy's gonna tell me why I'm wrong about that and so much more. You don't want to miss it. For once, I'll be told when I'm wrong. Speak for yourself. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Now, look, normally I'd be doing the show with Marcellus all week, and y'all know, as I do, he'd be telling me exactly why I'm wrong the entire show. I miss it a little bit. So I'm bringing back this segment, Tell Me Why I'm Wrong. I'm going to talk about some of the biggest stories in sports, and the fellas, my guy Slick Rick, my big bro Sam Macho, they going to tell me exactly why it is I'm wrong. It's good to see y'all both for now. Let's start with Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, to me, is the most entertaining athlete in all of sports. What makes an athlete entertaining? Well, for one, it's his relatability. See, when I look at Steph, I say, I could be him if I worked on my jump shot a little bit more. I look at Steph and I say, wait a second. You got 37 games with 30-plus points. Your team wins 68% of the time when you do that. Wait a second. You got 7 games this season alone with 10-plus made threes, and you look normal? Like, you don't really look like a superhuman? To me, that makes him the most entertaining because I look at him and I say, with a little bit of work, I might be able to be him. So, Slick Rick, you got to tell me, why am I wrong?
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong is because it's not Steph Curry who's the most entertaining. It is Aaron Rodgers who is the most entertaining athlete in sports today. Aaron's not even playing right now, and he has our full attention. He's a Jeopardy host. We don't know where he's playing. I'll put it this way, Acho, how many blocks have you devoted in the last month to talking about Aaron Rodgers versus how many blocks have you devoted talking about Steph Curry? There's no comparison. I've got the reigning MVP, and here's the real distinction. This is what puts it over the top. Because what Steph has that most guys don't have is he's got that swag. Not only does he get it done, but he celebrates it in a way that is highly entertaining. But he doesn't have anything on Aaron Rodgers when it comes to celebrating what he's doing on the field. So for all of those reasons, Aaron Rodgers beats Steph by just a nudge.
Well, Steph has that swag. I got that swag, so maybe that's why I'm partial. Anyway, let's move on to the Colts, because I think Carson Wentz is going to lead the Colts to a division title. That's the AFC South. I look at it like this. They just signed left tackle Eric Fisher yesterday. Remember, Eric Fisher was protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side when Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. Eric Fisher gets hurt. Patrick Mahomes loses the Super Bowl. We all know that this man, my guy, Carson Wentz, probably about to throw an 80-yard touchdown pass right there. We all know that Carson Wentz is a dude. Connecting with head coach Frank Wright, who is a dude, who still has all the belief in him. You got a stud middle linebacker, Darius Leonard, on defense. You have 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen, including the best guard in the game in Quentin Nelson, Big Q. When I look at it, ain't no stopping them now. That's the Colts will win the division. So, Sam Macho, tell me why I'm wrong.
Emmanuel, that's exactly what Earl Thomas said That's exactly what Tyrann Mathieu said, A.J. Bouye and Josh Norman before they faced the Tennessee Titans, and that stiff arm from Derrick Henry. They got stiff arm all the way out of there. And so that's why you're wrong. The Tennessee Titans are still, number one, they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. And if you look at it, they're building a dynasty. They're really building a new kind of era out in Tennessee. Mike Vrabel's almost building the New England Patriots of the South, if you look at it. 2 years ago, if you look at the Tennessee Titans, they were in the AFC Championship game. They have not gotten worse. They've gotten better. And oh, by the way, your boy, DK Metcalf, track star, Tennessee's got their own in A.J. Brown down there in Tennessee. And so that, my friend, my brother, is why you're wrong.
Ah, friend, brother. Literally. Huh. All right, let's wrap this up in Tampa, a city where Julian Edelman might wind up. At least that's my opinion, because we all know Julian Edelman retired because of health issues. But I played football for a while. Not as long as Sam Macho, but I played my own little bit. And I'm trying to figure out what injury can keep you out of ball for 8 months. You could tear your ACL and come back. I think what Tom Brady said stands true. Edelman was just too scared to say he didn't want to play for Bill Belichick. So he's retiring, and then he's going to rejoin the Bucs by the end of the season. So, Slick Rick, you first. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't need Julian Edelman. And I don't know that using an injury just to get out of playing for the Patriots really fits with what we know about Julian Edelman. But that aside, you already have a premier receiver in Mike Evans. You just franchise tagged Chris Godwin, and you drafted a young up-and-comer in Jalen Darden. It's not a matter of the train we haven't demonstrated that the guys go from New England to Tampa Bay, but he's not Rob Gronkowski. He's not 6'6". There wasn't a need for a premier tight end the way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could use one of Gronk's ability. So, yeah, I like the storyline. I like the idea, but I don't know that it really fits with reality. And that is why you're wrong.
Slick, that sounded nice, but you know me, I'm stubborn. I'm not yet convinced. Sam, you got to tell me why I'm wrong.
Let's take it back to our growing up days. Let me try and convince you of the truth. Bro, there's no space. So, yes, we talked about it. You got, number one, Antonio Brown, who's back on the team. You've got Mike Evans back on the team. Chris Godwin back on the team. You've got O.J. Howard, who's back healthy on the team. You've got Rob Gronkowski on the team. You drafted Tyler Johnson. And, oh, by the way, my dude, Scotty Miller, who caught that touchdown pass over Kevin King, where everybody's like, what's going on? You have all these guys back on the team, and they all need the ball. Oh, I haven't even mentioned running backs. You're returning your starting running backs. Leonard Fournette. You got Ronald Johnson back there. Hey, Ronald Jones, everyone is back. There's no space. There's no room. It's like a full house, man. Hey, the party's over. You can't come in.
Well, here's the thing, Sam. Here's the thing. I was the last born, and there wasn't space in our house, but there's such a thing as bunk beds. There's always space. You can find it. That's going to do it for Tell Me Why I'm Wrong, and as it turns out, I'm still right. Coming up, LeBron James could be back tonight, but I'll tell you if he's going to return as the king or just a peasant. That's next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back. Reports say LeBron is going to try to give it a go and test out his right ankle after another day of rest. Now, he'll miss tonight against the Knicks, but he is targeting a return tomorrow against the Rockets. The Lakers definitely need the Kings' help. They are the 7th seed in the West and are in danger of having to be in the play-in game. So now that begs the question, when LeBron does return, will LeBron return as the king? I'm joined by my big bro. I'm joined by Slick Rick. And fellas, I thought about this one long and hard, and I thought very simply, Slick. A king is not a king based upon his stature. A king is not a king based upon his accomplishments. A king is not a king based upon his height nor his weight. A king is a king based upon the throne. As long as a king has the throne, then a king is therefore a king. So what is the throne? The throne is being atop the NBA. So the real question is simply, are the Lakers going to maintain their dominance atop the NBA? Because as long as the Lakers maintain their dominance atop the NBA once LeBron returns, then he will return as the king because they will maintain the throne. Slick, LeBron doesn't need to average 35, 12, and 8. He don't need to average 40, 15, and 5. He just needs to contribute to the Lakers maintaining their success. Because if the Lakers maintain their success, then the Lakers will maintain the throne, and LeBron will thus be a king. Because remember, it's not about accomplishments that make one a king. All that matters is, do they have the throne? So, Slick, you tell me, when Bron returns, will he return as the king?
No, he won't. Obviously, you didn't watch Game of Thrones, because then you would know that whoever has the throne is not necessarily the king. And in this case, LeBron James, by the very fact that we thought he might be coming back to watch or to play against the New York Knicks, has now decided, you know what? Let me come back 24 hours later against the Houston Rockets. Why go up against the 38-30 New York Knicks, even though my team might need me more to beat them, when I can go against the last place, worst team in the league, Houston Rockets, to make my return? That is the issue here. Look, LeBron is always smart when it comes to setting himself up for success, and particularly when he's coming back. He never comes back in a rush. You never see the best of LeBron James right out of the gate. And considering that he's coming off of an injury, I would not expect that we're going to see that. But all of the peasants, the crowd, the people outside of the moat, they're all rumbling. Is the king still the king? Do we have a reason to fear the Lakers? And I'm not hearing fear. I'm hearing opportunity. I'm seeing people who seem to be tasting blood a little bit. And LeBron is going to have to reestablish himself and the Lakers as the kings, as the ones owning the throne, because right now there's a lot of people thinking that they have a chance to take it.
Sam, what you think?
Hey, I think that Slick Rick sounds a lot like Richard III. You know, back in Shakespeare, he's trying to take the throne, take the crowd. He had to kill his brother and marry his sister and kill his dad to get the throne. Nobody's whispering. No one's talking. There's no confusion or doubt. Let's not forget.
They're shouting.
They're not. No, let's not forget, Rick. Before the injury, LeBron was pretty much a front runner for MVP. Let's not forget, Emmanuel, I love your point about kings and thrones and all those things, but kings have crowns. And the last I checked, the Lakers got the championship. They're the reigning kings. And so LeBron James is, yes, definitely, without a doubt, going to be a king when he's back healthy. Maybe not this regular season. Maybe not tonight since he's not playing. Maybe not even tomorrow when he comes back. But when those playoffs start, he's going to be a king. LeBron averages, we all talk about, we love Russ and what he's doing, setting records, mad props. LeBron averages 28, 10, and 8 in the finals. Not talking about playoffs, not a practice, in the finals. That's king stuff. That's king worthy right there. Absolutely going to be a king.
Here's the problem. Slick, I got to be honest, bro. Sometimes I get frustrated doing this show, not with you, with my brother. Because here I come, being all smart, and he starts quoting Richard III, knowing good and well I spark noted that whole thing. Like straight spark. I ain't read that. You Dartmouth Slick having Ivy League conversations, and I can't even keep up. So hopefully I can bring in somebody who will allow me to keep up, although he's much more astute with basketball than I am. But I think overall IQ, I can challenge him. Chris Broussard is joining this conversation. So CB, as long as you don't quote Shakespeare, please offer me your take. Will LeBron James return as a king?
Don't worry at all about the Shakespeare, because I Cliff Notes. I was an English major, and I love Cliff Notes, so I didn't read as much Shakespeare as I was supposed to. But look, Rick, that was cute TV. You know, people are shouting. You know, they smell blood in the water. They're coming after LeBron. Nobody's afraid. The bottom line is this. LeBron James will be back, and all he has to be, kind of like you said, Acho, 85 to 90% of himself. If he can play every playoff game at 85, 90%, and Anthony Davis is back like he's been the last 2 games, then the Lakers will be fine. And here's the deal. Nobody in the West is scared. You talk about LeBron's not scaring anybody. Who's Utah scaring? Who's Denver without Jamal Murray scaring? Who's Phoenix scaring? I think the Clippers potentially could be scary, but they have trouble at the end of games. Paul George, we know his playoff history. So LeBron at 85, 90%, AD close to his maximum level is enough for the Lakers to survive the West. Now, I think Brooklyn, if they get out of the East, would be better than the Lakers, but the Lakers can survive the West if LeBron James is healthy.
As Marcellus would say, save me some of them ribs. Because, CB, I said the same thing yesterday. Why you scared of the Suns? None of their starters have ever been to a championship. Why are you scared of the Jazz? None of their starters have ever been to a championship. Why are you scared of the Nuggets? None of their starters have ever been to a championship. Why are you scared of the Blazers? Only one of their starters, Norman Powell, has been to a championship. Slick, I have no fear, because dun-dun-dun-dun, LeBron is here. Ain't nobody scared about none of these teams, Slick Rick.
Are we talking about the Lakers, who are the 7th seed and looking at potential play-in? Like, those are the Lakers we're talking. We're talking about the king who has an army that has failed him, that has demonstrated that they can't beat half the other armies. I'm not saying that there's a favorite among the Lakers. I'm saying that the throne is empty right now because of all the issues that the Lakers are facing, that the troops that they added are not as good as the troops that they had a year ago. And you guys keep talking about LeBron James at 85, 90%. If Anthony Davis is at his full powers, well, have we seen that? Are we going to be prisoners of the last game that we saw and say that that Anthony Davis can lead this team? If that's the case, then Anthony Davis is the king and LeBron James is not the king. So what exactly are we saying here? LeBron James at 85, 90% might be able to survive the playoffs, but they're not going to win against the Brooklyn Nets. That's not the king. That means that the Brooklyn Nets are stepping up and taking the throne. So I don't really understand the logic here. It seems to be you guys are skipping everything that we've seen this season and the condition that LeBron James finds himself in and the apathy that Anthony Davis has with which Anthony Davis has played this season and saying, you know what? Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. That's the old proverb about the emperor not having any clothes and nobody wanting to tell him. Well, I'm not that guy. If I see a naked emperor, I'm going to let him know. Yo, your butt's showing. Put some clothes on.
Slick, I like your take, but I can see my brother's passionate. Before I get to your take, I got to ask a question. It might be a Shakespearean question, if Shakespearean's even a word. Are thrones allowed to be empty? Because Slick was like, the throne is currently empty. I don't even know if thrones are allowed to be empty, but I'm not smart enough to answer that.
Bingo. Here's the fact. Slick Rick, the throne is empty because everyone knows who the king is. The king got a hurt ankle. He's hurt right now. Simple as that. When the king gets healthy, he's going to sit back on his throne. You say we're prisoner of the last game, prisoner of what Anthony Davis did. I'm not a prisoner of that. I'm a prisoner of championships. Last I saw the bubble, last I saw the Lakers, last I saw Anthony Davis, they were champions. And oh, by the way, the king had the crown on his head, and he was on the throne. You still sound a lot like Richard III here. Was every woman in this humor wooed? Was every woman in this humor won? I'll have her, but not keep her long. You over here trying to take people's thrones and crowns? Slick Rick, chill out. Stop looking at naked emperors.
That is problematic.
I got to give you credit on the quote.
I have a feeling that Rick gave that same take a year ago, or not quite a year ago, but right when we got out of the bubble, 8-game playing in the bubble. Because remember, the Lakers didn't look good in the bubble. They were 3-5, I believe. LeBron sat out some games. They couldn't shoot the three, and they couldn't stop the three. And people were picking Portland to beat them, and people were picking Houston to beat them, and some people even picked Miami to beat them. And what happened? The king arrived. Playoff LeBron is legit. Now, Rick, I'm talking about the West. I'm talking about getting out of the West, being the king of the West at this point. Again, LeBron, and here's the thing, Rick, and
king of the West.
Rick, you know this as well as anybody. You know this, well, look, Brooklyn's stacked. I mean, but you know this as well as anybody. LeBron is for all his athleticism, he is as cerebral as it gets. And so he doesn't have to be the LeBron James who's dunking at the rim over everybody and driving to the paint, especially if his three-point shots are on. And I'll give you, that can be a big if. But LeBron, if he can be on the floor throughout the playoffs, he can play smart enough. he can go in the post a little bit. He can go at the elbow a little bit. And he can run the offense and make sure he gets AD and Drummond and other guys, Schroeder, involved, where even if he's not at his peak athletically, he can still be very effective with his brain.
I'm not disputing that, but there is a question. You keep saying if he can be at 80, 90%. We really don't know that because the last time we did see him on a floor, he played 2 games, clearly wasn't right, had to shut it down again. And for whatever reason, we thought he was coming against New York. Now it's going to be another 24 hours. The skeptic in me says that he just wants an easier opponent to kind of ease his way back in. Who knows? But the bottom line is there's still a big question as to what level of LeBron that we're going to get. But my bigger question is, you guys, Sam, you're talking about the bubble team and all that they did in the bubble last year. That was a different team. There are multiple pieces that are different that have demonstrated that they're not as effective as the team that they had last year. And by the way, everybody was coming off of a shutdown, and LeBron was not coming off of an injury. Anthony Davis wasn't coming off of an injury. So to compare this situation and this roster and to say that they're going to replicate what they did last year in the bubble because they did it last year in the bubble is not taking into account that there are a dozen different variables that have changed from last year, including the health and abilities of the King.
Well, here's what I know. I've learned in life to count your small victories. Yesterday, Slick Rick was cautiously optimistic about the Lakers. Today, he's just a skeptic. Tomorrow, he'll be a believer. Coming up, will Cam Newton start over Mac Jones this season? Well, that's one of the position battles we got to look forward to. That's next. Speak for yourself. I'm breaking down all the QB battles. Our own Bucky Brooks set up some very interesting position battles to look forward to this season. In New England, you got Cam Newton versus the rookie, who? Mac Jones. In the Bay, you got that dude, Jimmy G, or rookie quarterback, Trey Lance. But you also got what you're looking at the screen. That's Justin Fields and Andy Dalton in the Shy. So many interesting battles, but let's kick it off with the Patriots, because we got to talk about how we see all these things playing out. Now, Bucky, in New England, I look at it very, very simply. Mac Jones is not going to take Cam Newton's job. Cam Newton's going to give it to him. Now, remember last year, Cam Newton had, 3 times he got benched against the San Francisco 49ers, 3 interceptions in the first 3 quarters. Ew. Against the Chargers, he got benched again late in that game. Ew. And then what happened against the Bills at the end of the season when they lost 38-9? Got benched again. Ew. That's not to count when he got COVID. 4 opportunities Cam Newton gave his backup to take his job. In football, you play defense, Bucky. You play defense, Sam Macho. There's a difference between a turnover and a takeaway, though they yield the same result. They both yield giving the defense the ball, but a turnover, the offense just kind of gave it to them. A takeaway, a defense had to go get that, give me that. That's what's going to happen with Cam Newton and Mac Jones. Cam Newton's simply going to turn the job over. Mac Jones ain't going to take it away. So, Bucky, how you expect that position battle to play out?
Oh, Cam Newton's going to be the starter from beginning to end. Because I think what you have to do is you got to go back and look at how Cam Newton was performing pre-COVID. The pre-COVID Cam Newton had us on here talking about Cam Newton needs an extension. They need to break the bank for Cam Newton. That Cam Newton that threw for over 300 yards against the Seattle Seahawks, but right after that, he catches COVID and was never quite the same because Josh McDaniels and that offense kept building and stacking, and Cam could never catch up. But let's be honest. We've seen Mac Jones. We've seen Mac Jones physically. We've seen him throw the ball. And the best attribute that we can talk about with Mac Jones is, hey, man, he's going to know the offense. His football IQ is high. But we all know as players, when you stand on the field and Mac Jones is standing beside an Adonis and Cam Newton, and it's going to be a different look. And so Mac Jones is going to have to take it from Cam Newton. And Cam Newton's big personality, his athleticism, and the upgraded weapons that they have around him, I think this is going to be a hard job for Mac Jones to take away from Cam Newton. And I don't expect Cam Newton to give it to him.
I respect that, but make no mistake about it. Adonis even lost a bout or 2 to someone who did not look the part. But let's move on to the Bay. You got Trey Lance and Jimmy G. Interesting position battle. But it's actually a simple position battle. Jimmy G's not going to give away that job either. his body will. Jimmy G's 22-8 as a starter, fourth best winning percentage amongst starters in their first 30 games at the quarterback position. So we know when Jimmy G plays incredibly well. But we also know Jimmy G misses 57% of the games. Sam Macho, you and I both went to private school, an astute private school. And if you remember in high school, that private school that we went to, the first grade that you ever get graded on, it's attendance. So it don't matter how you score on the test. It don't matter how you score on the midterm. It don't matter how you score on the final. Do you even show up? And 57% of the time, Jimmy G, he only shows up? It doesn't look good. I think Trey Lance will eventually get it because Jimmy's body will forsake him.
Emmanuel, it's a good thing this is the NFL and not high school football, our division, lowest to lowest. It's not high school. This is the NFL. So it doesn't matter if you show up. It's matter if you perform. Tom Brady, prime example. Tom Brady doesn't show up to offseason workouts, but he performs year in and year out. He's the best player. In this scenario, San Francisco wants the best player on the field. In their minds, they believe that they are ready to go back to the Super Bowl. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, they were in that Super Bowl, and they lost. They believe they have a Super Bowl-ready team, and so I believe that Jimmy G is going to be the starter from start to finish. He may have an injury here or there, may miss a game or two. Trey Lance will get a chance to show what he can do, but it's Jimmy G's job, and it's Jimmy G's job to lose.
To me, the most exciting battle is the one we're about to discuss. Because in Chicago, the Windy City, Sam, your former team, you got Justin Fields versus Andy Dalton. Justin Fields is going to take this job from day one, and it will be very simple. Andy Dalton, he's never been coached by Matt Nagy. Andy Dalton, 24, 40, and 1 over his last 65 games. Y'all heard that, right? That's just sorry, sorry, and sorry. And it comes down to it, Justin Fields is a dude. He can do everything Matt Nagy has always wanted him to do. First off, Andy Dalton isn't even an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. That was a lateral move or a lower move. But Justin Fields, on the other hand, you might just be up to something. So I expect Justin Fields to take the job day one and run with it. But Bucky Brooks, you run with this take. How do you expect the competition to play out?
Oh, this is Justin Fields' job because Justin Fields is the life preserver. He's the guy that's going to save everybody's job. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, they're going to forget about the sins of taking Mitchell Trubisky over Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson because Justin Fields is going to knock it out the park. And that's it. He doesn't have to be a superstar right out of the gate. He just has to be better than Mitchell Trubisky was. And so with the bar being so low, a few flash plays, a couple more wins in the winning column, and everything is going to be okay. I expect him to give him every opportunity to win this job coming out of training camp. Season opener, Justin Fields should be the Bears starter.
Bucky, I love what you're saying, and it is going to be Justin Fields' job, but not for the reasons that you all think. So I've been in Chicago. I've been playing in Soldier Field. As soon as you see one or two interceptions start coming from Andy Dalton, you're gonna hear some boo, boo. You're gonna start getting media reporters asking coaches questions. Hey, when will we see Justin Fields? And so it is, yes, there's a hot seat, and yes, Justin Fields is that dude, but there is so much pressure. And as we know, pressure can bust pipes. There's pressure to make a change. I was there 2 years ago and even watching last year when Mitch Trubisky was playing relatively well. And all of a sudden, week 3, he gets benched for Nick Foles. There's that pressure then, and that same pressure exists right now. So it is Justin Fields' job, but nothing because Andy Dalton. It's because he doesn't have an opportunity.
A lot of quarterback battles. Bucky, thank you for giving us the engine fluid to start up this conversation. You keep writing great articles, giving us great takes. But speaking of pressure, it's a lot of pressure in Philadelphia on one quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you how dangerous Philly can be this season. That's next. Speak for yourself. Let's head to my former city. That's Philly, where all signs are pointing to Jalen Hurts being the starting QB. Now remember, Hurts went 1-3 as an Eagles starter to end last season, and their general manager, Howie Roseman, said, quote, "We want to see him grab the job and kind of run with it and see what you do over a period of time." So, in response to that, Howie, I had to start thinking, how dangerous are the Eagles? And fellas, I look at the Eagles kind of like I look at a bee. You know when you're at a picnic and you hear like bzz, bzz, and you see it buzzing, and Slick Rick, as you see and you hear it buzzing, you start swatting because you know this. A bee has one sting, one good sting. But after that sting, zip, the bee drop dead and die. See, I think the Philadelphia Eagles do have a sting this year. Jalen Hurts, y'all remember what he did to the red-hot Saints last year? Stung the mess out of them. Devontae Smith, first Heisman winner at wide receiver since the early 90s at Desmond Howard. Ooh, they got a sting in them. But what happened after the Eagles stung the Saints last year? Jalen Hurts went on to lose the next 3 games. Now, how do I know that they have a sting? Because Jalen Hurts, he contributed to 297 yards a game. That is 3rd all-time amongst rookies since 1970s with a minimum of 4 starts. 297 yards a game. Jalen Hurts got a sting, and do not make any mistake about it. But Jalen Hurts also had a 57% completion percentage. League average was 64. He also had a 52-point passer rating. League average was, I believe, in the 80s or 90s. So I know Jalen Hurts is capable of stinging, and I know he's capable of making the Eagles very dangerous. I just don't think they'll be all that dangerous. Sacho, big bro, how dangerous are the Eagles going to be with Jalen Hurts this season?
Yeah, the Eagles aren't going to be dangerous at all because they're in the worst division of football, and they're not even the best team in the worst division in football. They were 4-11-1 last year. That's not good at all, number one. Number two, Nick Sirianni is the head coach. I don't believe put it this way. Let's just end it right here. Nick Sirianni is more known for his bad press conferences than he is for leading men. So if we want to talk about the Eagles and what they're doing, you got to look at their head coach, and I don't see great leadership there, number one. And number two, we talked about it. Jalen Hurts may not even be the starter. Yes, all signs are pointing towards him starting, but last I checked with Nick Sirianni, he said it's an open competition. And so if you have that kind of misdirection and that kind of open-ended competition when Jalen Hurts is supposed to be the guy, I don't see the Eagles going very far at all, not only in this division, but also in the NFL.
Jalen Hurts Eagles will be dangerous to Jalen Hurts. Let's be real about the team that he has around him and what he's expected to do. I love the way you dressed up that 1-3 record. Like, look at all that he did and then he didn't do. And he's coming in as the savior, the backup, being the glorified guy who's going to change things, and he did and then he didn't. They doubled down on putting the pressure on Jalen Hurts by getting Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver. Even though he's a little bit undersized, and while I might expect that he's going to make good, there's some question as to whether he can be everything that he was at the collegiate level. And if he's not, people aren't going to look at Devontae Smith. They're going to look at the guy who is or isn't getting the ball to him on a consistent basis. And how is Jalen Hurts going to be doing that behind an offensive line that is still unsettled? Or with Miles Sanders as your running back, not an everyday back, that's still being unsettled. The pressure and the expectations on Jalen Hurts to make this happen, he has not demonstrated that he has the wherewithal to do it. And certainly when I look at the rest of what the Eagles have put around him at this point, it's not enough to settle it. Not for what the expectations are in Philadelphia.
I know we weren't very kind, but Eagles fans, let us back into your city because I need a Max's cheesesteak ASAP. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers' status in Green Bay. Well, it's been up in the air, but their general manager says Jordan Love has a long way to go. I'm going to break down who he was talking to. Next, speak for yourself. There's been plenty of drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers' future in Green Bay. So what does this mean for Jordan Love? Because Love did not take a snap at all last season, and their GM said, quote, he's got a long way to go. So what's the real meaning behind the GM saying that Jordan Love has a long way to go? Allow me to break this all down for you. The GM, Brian Gutekunst, got caught. He got caught. He showed his love and affection, if you will, for Jordan Love. But the fact of the matter is, it was premature. And now he's in a pickle because the person that they actually have the real affection for, Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback in the National Football League just by talent alone and by accolades because he won the MVP, he wants out. There's no reason for the GM to say this unless he's trying to give Aaron Rodgers a message. He's trying to tell Aaron Rodgers, look, we made a mistake. He's trying to admit to making a mistake without admitting to making a mistake. He's speaking in code. We just have to translate it. Well, that's it for today. Fox Bet Live. They're next.